Welcome back. It's really kind of obvious. Every other industrialized nation already has some kind of national health plan. What's with Americans? Tom Foreman explains specific groups have specific problems and impact.
Democrats knew it would be tough, predicted problems, but have been clearly stunned by the Thunderdome called health reform.
Excuse me, ma'am, we're here tonight. What's the matter with you all?
The sustained fury is being driven by voters with widely different objections, united only in their quest to raise the roof over this issue. One of the loudest blocks of all these groups arrayed against the reform bill is the fiscal conservatives. They have been energized by a Congressional Budget Office report saying reform will likely not pay for itself, but could cost taxpayers plenty.
The only thing that I see climbing higher is our deficit.
The president himself says he won't let the plan raise the deficit, but increasingly we've heard members of Congress, some of them Democrats, insisting they will not back reform unless they are sure of that. Here is another group, social conservatives. These are people who hate the idea of government getting involved in matters which they consider the territory of private business.
The government's not supposed to be in healthcare, period.
Then there are what we might call issues people. These are folks who are worried that this might be backdoor legislation to give aid to illegal immigrants, ration health care, support abortion, you name it. Many congressmen tell them that their concerns are misplaced, the allegations just false, but they keep showing up. One common factor is driving a super group over here. It's people over the age of 50. Our polls have found 57% of people under that age want reform. Above it, support plunges to 40%. Fueled by people who fear a reduction in their care and benefits.
It's fear of losing something versus extending something.
And one more big group making news right now, and that's liberals. They've started attacking because they believe the measure is being watered down so much to placate all these other groups that it will be meaningless.
So let's talk the politics. Joining us once again, people are kind of getting to be regulars around here, Reihan Salam and Sarah Flowers. Thanks so much for being with us. If you add them up, fiscal conservatives, social conservatives, nervous elderly people, diehard Republicans, disappointed Democrats, a lot of angry people, are they still going to get some form of health reform adopted, do you think?
Absolutely. We have vast and varied interests on this bill and definitely in health care and health insurance reform. But no matter how you add up the votes, Democrats still hold 60 votes in the Senate, 58 when you consider that we have two ailing, very sick senators. It's enough to get a bill through, and there's too much determination not to get a bill through at this point. Question is what's going to be in that bill.
Well, let's talk about that in a moment. Reihan, do you agree with the basic math?
Yeah, I think that the Democrats also have a new and very shrewd legislative strategy in which they are seriously contemplating splitting their health reform measure into two separate bills, one of which you could pass through the so-called reconciliation process, another of which you could pass with, the General Senate working under kind of normal procedures. And I think that the beauty of this approach is that it gives cover to a lot of the Democrats who are wavering. So I think that you are going to see something. Now, the exact contours of that remain unclear.
Well, let me ask you about that. We've settled the math. Now, the matter at hand, getting Americans covered. There's already talk about giving up one of the core elements of the plan, the idea that the government would itself offer health insurance to every man, woman, and child. How much else is ultimately going to change? How recognizable will this be when it finally gets through Congress?
Well, you've hit on exactly what will be the debate for at least the first few weeks of September, and that is whether or not there will be a public option. I think the White House sent up a test balloon this week to see how Democrats would respond to the idea of not having a public option. Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker, said in no terms that there would not be a bill without a public option. So I think that is where the fireworks will happen.
And they've only started giving things away. There could be a very different kind of bill, couldn't there, Reihan? Cut into two without the public option, and that's before Congress even reconvenes.
Yeah, I think that the public option was always a bargaining chip, basically. I think that the idea has its origins as a way to win over folks on the progressive left who wanted a single payer option. And so they use this as a kind of second best alternative to that. And that's why it has so much significance for liberal activists. In the end, I think it's going to be something that the White House is willing to give up on. And I think that the final bill is going to be something a lot more moderate and restrained. But I think that that also means that we're going to continue working on this healthcare issue for many, many years to come. This is not the end. This is not some kind of big bang. We're going to be debating this for a long time.
That is a frightening prospect. Reihan Salam and Sarah Flowers, thanks so much for talking with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
In the quick fix now, Bill Clinton back in the White House as a guest. The former president was asked to brief the current one on his North Korean mission, arranging the release of 2 journalists arrested and tried there. Clinton not only got a chance to recount the diplomatic coup, he kind of upstaged his wife, the Secretary of State, who also visited the White House the same day. Bill Clinton got 70 minutes with the president. Hillary got about half as much on her own, but she was in several joint meetings and visits a lot more often if you're keeping score, or if they are. We've learned who's behind the image of President Obama as the Joker from The Dark Knight. It's ended up on posters with the caption, "Socialist," at town hall meetings on healthcare. But the artist isn't part of any right-wing group. He's a 20-year-old student in Chicago. He says he created the image playing around with Photoshop and posted the results on Flickr. And he wasn't known for treading lightly when he was the Republican leader of the House of Representatives, but we'll soon see a very different side of former Texas Congressman Tom DeLay.
16 new stars will take center stage. Tom DeLay.
He's among 16 celebrities competing on the new season of Dancing with the Stars, a popular competition on American TV that pairs celebrities with professional dancers. DeLay left the Congress back in 2006 after being indicted for violating campaign finance law. He's still dancing on that, too. We'll break it down for you later in the program.